The polished marble floors of Morel and Company gleamed under the morning light like frozen glass, echoing the sound of confident heels and polished leather shoes. The reception desk looked more like an art installation than a functional piece of furniture. Curved walnut wood, brushed brass inlays, and a vase of white orchids that hadn't wilted in weeks. It smelled of money here, money and quiet power. Elena walked in slowly, clutching her fabric tote bag to her side as if it might protect her. She wore an outdated blazer, one size too big, the lining frayed slightly at the cuffs, and scrape white sneakers that told their own quiet story of long walks, missed buses, and morning shifts at the diner. Her hands trembled slightly, not from nerves, but from holding her resume so tightly that the edges had curled. Around her, other candidates sat poised and glowing, flipping through portfolios on sleek tablets, murmuring to each other with fake laughs and shared privilege. One of them, an immaculate blonde woman in a designer pantsuit, gave Elena a once-over and let out a soft, disbelieving snort. "Lost?" she asked, her voice immaculate blonde woman in a designer pantsuit, gave Elena a once-over and let out a soft, disbelieving snort. "Lost?" she asked, her voice sugary with mockery. Elena met her gaze for a moment, then quietly sat in the corner farthest from everyone, like a shadow, trying not to disturb the light. She wasn't supposed to be here. Her friend Maya had begged her to apply. They're looking for someone who can think differently, someone who sees what others don't. Elena had rolled her eyes. She had no degree, no references, just a sharp mind, a broken laptop, and a collection of notebooks filled with tiny, perfect solutions to problems no one had asked her to solve. The HR assistant called names one by one. With each departure into the interview chamber, an ominous glass door guarded like a portal. Elena's stomach twisted tighter. By the time they called her name, she felt like a fraud walking into a coliseum. Inside, by the time they called her name, she felt like a fraud walking into a coliseum. Inside, the room was colder. 3 executives sat behind a long desk that seemed too large for the space. At the center sat Mr. Thorne, the CEO, a silver-haired man with sharp eyes and a reputation for dismantling interviewees like chess pieces. On either side of him were a woman in a tailored gray suit and a younger man with thick glasses and a permanent smirk. Thorne looked up once at Elena, barely hiding his disappointment. "You're Elena Ruiz?" She nodded. "You worked at a diner, a dry cleaner, and tutored neighborhood kids in math?" "Yes, sir. No degree. No corporate experience." "And your resume?" He lifted it like it smelled bad. "You typed this on a typewriter?" "My computer broke," she said quietly. "But I can." He raised a hand, already done listening. The woman in gray leaned forward. "Tell us why you're here, Ms. Ruiz." "This is a competitive innovation role. Our problems require cutting-edge strategies, analytics, complex modeling. What can you bring to the table?" Elena paused. She wanted to say so much. How she taught herself calculus by solving problems in the back of old textbooks she found at the thrift store. How she built a budget app on paper to help single moms in her neighborhood. How she saw patterns in data the way others saw colors. But all she could say was, "I solve problems." There was a pause. Then laughter, not cruel, just dismissive. Thorne sighed. "Thank you for coming in." It was over. She stood slowly, throat tight. Her face burned with humiliation, but she gave a "Thank you for coming in." It was over. She stood slowly, throat tight. Her face burned with humiliation, but she gave a small nod and turned to leave. But then a voice crackled from the hallway intercom. "Mr. Thorne, the numbers just came in. The Valari pitch was a failure. They pulled the partnership." Gasps. The younger executive swore under his breath. The woman in gray went pale. Thorne stood abruptly, face a stone wall of anger. "Everyone out. Now." Elena paused at the door, halfway gone, invisible again. But something in her refused to move. She turned. "I can fix it." They all turned to look at her, startled. Thorne's jaw tightened. "What did you say?" Her voice steadied. "I saw your Valari proposal in the lobby on the display screen. You presented a smart logistics model, but you missed the behavioral pattern in user adoption. They pulled out because they predicted a 17% drop in retention after the third quarter. Silence. You'd have known if you'd run a cluster analysis on secondary user behavior during stress triggers. I can show you. The air froze. And for the first time, Mr. Thorne truly looked at her. They didn't know why they let her stay. Perhaps it was Thorne's curiosity. Perhaps it was the sheer shock of someone like her daring to challenge them. Whatever it was, she was ushered into a side conference room, given a marker, and pointed to the glassboard. It was larger than life, clear as ice, surrounded by walls that closed in like a courtroom. The executives stood with folded arms, ready to watch her fumble and fall apart. She picked up the marker. Her hand trembled. Her knees were weak. The pen squeaked against the board as she began to draw, a series of graphs, data clusters, predictive outcomes, user pain points. Her voice quivered at first, but soon it gained rhythm. She spoke of human behavior, patterns in chaos, overlooked data. But midway through, her marker slipped. Her hand missed the line. The squeal was loud. She stammered. "Drop the pen." Everyone saw it. The young man with glasses chuckled. "Here we go." Laughter rippled again. She felt it in her skin. The sound of disbelief, of rich people watching a poor girl try to dance on ice. She bent to pick up the pen, but her fingers fumbled. It rolled. She scrambled after it, heart thundering, cheeks blazing. "I knew this was a waste of time," muttered the woman in gray. And something in Elena broke. Tears pricked her eyes. But then she stood, straightened, and without another word, walked to the board and erased the entire thing. Gasps filled the room. "What is she doing?" Elena turned to them. Her voice was calm now, steel wrapped in silk. "You're not failing because of data. You're failing because you're trying to sell innovation without understanding pain. Your customers aren't numbers. They're tired, overwhelmed people looking for something that works without another login, another email, another complication. You build a maze. I'm going to build a path." She drew again. This time, it was a flowchart, a human experience, not a corporate diagram. Her hands no longer trembled. Her eyes burned with something fierce. She spoke of empathy, of design thinking, of common sense hidden in noise. And the room, the same room that had mocked her, fell utterly, completely silent. Thorne leaned forward, eyes narrowed. "You said you can predict the drop?" "Yes," she said, "and reverse it." "How?" And she smiled. "By listening." The following Monday, Elena received a call. They didn't offer her the job. They offered her the team. She became the head of a new initiative called Human Insight Division, built from the ground up. She walked back into Morrell and Company not as a trembling candidate, but as someone whose ideas had saved a $12 million partnership in one emergency boardroom meeting. At her first official presentation, she stood before a crowd of senior executives, marketing chiefs, and the very same judges who had once scoffed at her. She wore the same sneakers, same blazer, but she carried a clicker in her hand like a sword, and her voice cut through the air like music. Halfway through her talk, when she pulled up the new user retention projections and they saw the impossible spike, there was an audible sound from the room, a held breath. And then, when she clicked her final slide, a simple screen with 3 words, "We found them," the room erupted. Not in laughter, but applause. Real, loud, endless. Mr. Thorne stood, then the others. A full standing ovation. Tears filled her eyes, but she didn't wipe them. She let them fall, because for the first time, the girl no one believed in, the woman everyone overlooked, had spoken loud enough to be heard, and the world had listened. And for once, no one told her to sit down. Never judge someone by their appearance or silence. True strength often hides behind quiet eyes, worn shoes, and trembling hands. Elena's journey is a reminder that resilience, courage, and heart can shatter every expectation. No matter how humble your beginnings or how loud the doubts around you, the moment you believe in yourself, everything changes. Because sometimes the one everyone underestimates ends up being the one they can't stop applauding. If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you believe in your own hidden strength. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more powerful, emotional stories that prove heart is stronger than doubt.